346. Time to get rocking. Love the music. Start doing push-ups. One arm, one wrist, push-ups. Let's bring in Colin Livingston for the Race Report, brought to you by CanTorque. There are a few tools we listen to the show, but none of them are built as well as the ones from CanTorque. Check them out at CanTorque.com. And Colin, let's get right into the karting situation with the Motomaster Canadian Karting Championships. Why was it a difficult racetrack this week?
Well, I mean, Strutty, for me, it was super difficult. I had never been there. Massive elevation changes, really technical corners, blind corners, really high speed. So for me, I really struggled. I mean, candidly, I was 2 seconds a lap slower in qualifying than the next slowest guy. I was just over 3 seconds a lap off the pace on a these guys were running like I think Pierre-Luc, who was in my same category, was running 56 ones, and my best lap was like a 59.2. So I was just over 3 seconds a lap slower than the fastest guy, and like 2 seconds a lap slower. Just a really steep learning curve. Most of the guys that have been there have like that were racing have been there before. They know the track, and they're the best racers in Canada. Like, this was a national open or a national final. And, I just, I don't rate the same way as these guys. It'd be like you and me going to play hockey. I can skate, but you'd have my jock strap on my head pretty quick.
Now, is it what about elevation? Elevation change makes it difficult. Is it the inability to see kind of what's coming ahead?
It's a couple of things. I mean, I'll post a video after we're done here that there's a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, there's probably 3 sections on the track that are blind corners. So as you're going up the hill, at first you definitely don't know where to go, but unless you really are comfortable with what's coming over the hill, it can be awkward at times. But the elevation is not just a straight elevation. It's not like you're just going straight up a hill. You're going up a hill as you're completing a corner, which jacks the cart. I've got video of my cart cresting a hill where the front end of my cart is up in the air. So like, if you're not straight, you're going to land at a weird angle. And that happens at a few places over there. The biggest issue I really had, I mean, I don't want to make this about me because there was a lot of great things that happened, but I don't mind talking about my struggles, because when people watch racing, they think, the new people think that the car does all the work. And I'm here to tell you that that's anything but true. But my big issue is that I tend to overdrive, because I feel like I know I'm going too slow. So I try and push too deep into a corner, which gets the cart upset, which slows your exit off the corner, which slows the whole straightaway. And that's where you really lose the time. And in most cases, if you can slow down and stay under control, get back to the gas and stay in the gas, that's where you start making up your speed. So, that's where I really struggled. But I will honestly admit that I've probably replayed that track in my head 10,000 times since we left there on Sunday. And I'm not going to, toss down the gauntlet, but I'm going to be way better prepared when I get the chance to go back there next time.
Talking all things racing with Colin Livingston from CanTorque. This is a racing report. F1 summer break is over. Guys got to get back at it. And they're going to the Spa. Obviously, that's in Belgium, a 7-kilometer track. Why is it maybe a situation that they might not be going back there? A track that's had a Grand Prix since, I think, 85.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most legendary tracks on the calendar. I mean, the legacy tracks like Spa, Monza, Monaco. From what I understand, and I can't state this as fact, but as I've been trying to read on what the back end issues are, these tracks really don't pay any sanctioning fees to F1, and as the popularity is growing, and candidly the greed is getting stronger, they're going back to these places and saying, hey, if you want to be on the calendar, you're going to have to start paying. We don't care how great the track is. We don't care how legendary it is. because if you're not going to pay, somebody else will. And, you know, even McLaren driver Lando Norris made a comment like, you know, it's a shame that, you know, right now everything's about money, because Spa is one of those places that it offers great racing. It's, you know, not too many fans who aren't like super hardcore fans know which corner is which, but at Spa, usually if you ask even a casual fan, they'll know Eau Rouge, you know, the uphill, you know, very, very similar, but opposite to turns 1 and 2 at Mosport karting track, is kind of the same thing at Spa. You know, but that's what it's coming down to, is money. Now they you know, Stefano Domenichelli, who's the head of Liberty right now, the guy who's trying to decide, is saying like, hey, listen, negotiations are ongoing, we want to have these guys back here. And maybe what we're going to do is like we've done with other races, where, you know, Spa will be on in odd numbered years, and then maybe we go back to France, and then maybe we go to Germany, because as of now, France isn't on next year's calendar, which I don't think anyone really cares about, but they're talking about moving to a different location. You know, Germany hasn't hosted a race in a bunch of years. You know, China's scheduled to come back next year in 2023. So, you know, the calendar is already like bulging at the seams. At some point, if they're going to keep trying to expand into places like South Africa, something's going to have to get cut.
Now, this race coming up is the first time we're going to see some new rules or regulation. What are they, and how does it affect the teams?
Yeah, I mean, for you know, people who've been following the series, they're very well aware, but people who are kind of, you know, casual fans, the beginning of the year, the series released a new car, you know, designed to be way less aerodynamically sensitive, to allow closer you know, following, easier passing, and you know, really the series has developed, or has delivered that. But the issue was what's called porpoising. Is one of the issues is porpoising, where the aerodynamic balance of the cart, when it would bottom out, would suddenly unload the car, and like literally the cars are going down at high speeds, and they're bouncing like crazy and shaking the drivers, and you know, it was really hard to get under control. Now most teams have got that issue solved, but as a response to that, the FIA has come out with new rules that are really being quite strict on how the teams are developing their floors. And there's a couple of teams like Red Bull and Ferrari who have been manipulating their floors with what are being called flexi-floors. And as this races, you know, now that we're at Spa, the FIA is going to start cracking down on that to make sure that the floor stays static, which, if this is one of the things that those guys have exploited to find their speed, it could be a negative effect for them, which could move, you know, Mercedes, McLaren, you know, Alpine, you know, up the rotation. It'll be really interesting to see what happens starting at FP1 tomorrow.
There's some more movement amongst the racers and teams. McLaren specifically, who's moving out of there?
So formally announced yesterday that fan favorite, one of, you know, truly one of the best racers in the series, Danny Ricciardo, they're not going to return him to the team in 2023. This is big because he did have a rock solid contract going through 2023. McLaren really wants Oscar Piastri, who's a former F2 driver, to the point that they've not just bought Danny out, so they're paying him his 2023 contract in advance. They didn't put any restrictions on where he could go, which is really, really rare. Usually when they buy a guy out, they retain the services. They say, listen, we're paying you, you're going to be our reserve driver, you're going to be our, you know, whatever. But they've just released him outright. And, you know, I think it's reported that he gets paid roughly, you know, $15-18 million a year. So this is no small amount of money that they're throwing away. But, you know, they've got two drivers potentially in the wings with Piastri. And then they've also got Alex Palou, who's currently in IndyCar, that they say they've signed. Both of the signings that they made are highly contested. Palou is still under contract with Ganassi. Ganassi saying that he's got to be with them next year, so that's going to be a bit of a legal issue. Piastri is still under contract according to Alpine. So there's going to be a lot of contract mediation that needs to happen before we figure out what's what. But that also means that Danny Ricciardo now has to find a seat. So there's not an awful lot open out there, but we're far from done the silly season here in F1.
Colin Livingston joins us for the CanTorque Racing Report. Let's talk IndyCar. David Malukas may not have won, but it sure seems like he's trending the right direction on the track.
Yeah, I mean, celebrating a second place finish is kind of rare in racing. But when a rookie who's in a small, underfunded team is able to challenge the big guys, I mean, he drove around some big names there towards the end of the race, and just Dale Coyne is who he drives for. Dale is widely said like he's such a good driver, but I wish he would get a little bit more aggressive from time to time. As that race at Gateway was closing, I mean, he was passing Penske cars, he was passing Ganassi cars. Like these are the front runners. He's passing Andretti cars. These guys made it really, really, really difficult for him to get around. They were positioning they weren't blocking, but they were positioning their car to give him dirty air and then to take away the draft at the same time. He passed Scott McLaughlin with a few laps to go, and I think at the end of the race he was probably the fastest car on track, just didn't have time to make any moves on Joseph Newgarden. I mean, congratulations to Newgarden for getting the win. He closes to 3 points behind Will Power, who's a Penske teammate. Our good friend Scott Dixon, Scotty D, he's now 14 back. There's only 2 races to go though, so it's getting to crunch time there.
And one last one, let's talk about the NASCAR Pinty series. Only 3 races left, and it seems like it's pretty tight with tags trying to make up a couple spots.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that we don't have a chance, but right now, I think it was Glenn Sather once said it's between slim and none, and slim's on a bus out of town. Yeah, we have 3 races, so it's a little bit more manageable. We're 18 points behind. DJ Kennington, he's had one of his best seasons in recent memory. He's 12 back, and Marc-Antoine Camerand has a 12-point lead, obviously. Heading out tomorrow, we'll be racing at Circuit Icar, just at the old Mirabel Airport, just north of Montreal. Next weekend, we're heading to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, same place that we kart raced last week, but we'll be on the big track. And then in a few weeks after that, we close at Delaware Speedway, just outside of London, Ontario. We need to really, if we're going to have a shot, we need to win at least one of the remaining races, if not 2. And while I do not wish this, we also need Cameron to have a bit of trouble to close that gap. It's pretty big with only 3 races to go, but without question, we'll give it everything we got. But yeah, it'll be a fun race in Montreal. Love going back to that place, get to see Alex's daughter Eva, and get some poutine.
Oh, you love the good poutine, buddy. Well, good luck at the races, and we'll check in with you next week, my man.
Yeah, sounds good, Struddy. Thanks, man. Thank
you. CanTorque Racing Report with Colin Livingston. Poutine, I can't support it. I'm sorry. I didn't want to get into a whole discussion. I'm not into it. Connor, let's not make this a thing. My takes on food are people are losing too often.